Hello, I'm Chris Barrow with the BBC News. Russia's defense ministry says the warship Moskva has sunk a day after Ukraine said it had been hit by Neptune cruise missiles fired from the coast. The ship went down as she was being towed back to port in stormy weather. Steve Rosenberg is in Moscow.
Moskva, as the flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, is a symbol of Russia's military might. And the fact that this symbol was crippled by fire and explosions and has now sunk on its way back to harbour, that I think is a major blow to the prestige of the Russian armed forces. And it contradicts what President Putin was saying just a couple of days ago when he declared that what he calls his special military operation in Ukraine was going according to plan.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has told the BBC that Russian atrocities against Ukrainian civilians are reducing the possibility of successful peace talks. He said the stories of horror from Bucha, Borodyanka and Mariupol were making it hard to imagine sitting down at the negotiating table with the Russians. He also criticised European countries that are still buying Russian oil and gas. The director of the CIA, William Burns, has described Russia as a dangerous but declining world power with a leader stewed in grievance, ambition and insecurity. In his most extensive public comments since the war in Ukraine began, Mr. Burns said President Putin retained an almost mystical belief that his destiny was to restore Russia's sphere of influence. He warned a pugnacious and revisionist Russia could become increasingly desperate. There are signs of growing tension in Shanghai as China's biggest city enters its third week of coronavirus lockdown. Video footage has emerged of clashes between police and people who are angry at being forcibly moved out of their homes. Robin Brandt reports.
This was a confrontation in broad daylight by a road intersection. Moments like this have become increasingly unusual in this country, but then so is locking down 25 million people. Head to toe in protective suits, in an eastern district of the city, officers were forcing people out of their rented apartments so they could turn them into temporary quarantine facilities. But for some it was just too much. Some were detained as their homes were sequestered.
South Korea will lift most coronavirus-related measures next week, including all social distancing rules. However, the Prime Minister, Kim Boo-gyum, said an obligation to wear masks outdoors would continue. From Monday, restaurants, cafes and other small businesses will be able to operate freely without a midnight curfew. The limit on private gatherings to a maximum of 10 people will be removed. New COVID cases fell below 150,000 on Thursday. World News from the BBC. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, has launched a hostile takeover bid for Twitter, offering to buy the social media firm for more than $40 billion. He said he wanted to unlock the extraordinary potential of Twitter as a platform for free speech around the world. Our New York business correspondent, Michelle Fleury, has more details on Mr. Musk's move to buy the company.
It wasn't that long ago that he revealed he had taken a major stake in the company and had said he had done it because he wanted to be the social network's largest shareholder. But the question now is what happens next? And there is some speculation. We've seen, for example, one of the company's major shareholders, the Saudi billionaire Prince Al Walid, basically saying he rejects the deal. One reason for that, perhaps, is that although it's a generous offer from Mr. Musk, when you look back a year ago, the shares were selling at $70, so significantly higher, which means some investors may feel it doesn't value it enough.
A court in the US has found a former British national who was part of an Islamic State cell known as the Beatles guilty of involvement in a series of murders. El Shafi el-Sheikh was part of the gang which killed British and American journalists and aid workers in Syria. The four jihadists were given their nickname by their captives because of their British accents. The group was suspected of involvement in the kidnapping in Syria of some 20 other journalists and relief workers from Europe, Russia and Japan. The FBI and Treasury Department in the United States have linked hackers backed by North Korea to the theft of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency via the popular online game Axie Infinity. It's the largest known breach in the cryptocurrency sector. The US agencies found a digital currency address used by the hackers is controlled by the North Korean hacking group Lazarus and APT38. And that's the latest BBC News.